Welcome, gentlemen, to Defining Tanya. Welcome to Ois Shin. And we have, we don't spend too much time on this. We have Shin Daladim. Shin Daladim Nuchroim. My Rebbe actually calls them Shadim. Yeah, but I learned from somebody else before. I'd learned from Rav Manis, and he always referred to them as Shin Dalads. He would never say it correctly. So I always just say Shin Daladim. So even though my Rebbe does say it as it is. I don't know why. But anyway, okay. So there's what's called Shindodim Yehudoim and Shindodim Nuchroim. Yeah, Yiddish demons, a Shindalad, a shade is called. You translate that as a demon. Okay, I don't know what that means, but I don't know what a demon is. But anyway, and then you have Yiddish demons and you have Goyish demons. Okay, so what is it? See, I don't know what a Shindalad is, and I'm only going to tell you really what it is in context in the way that I understand it from Tanya. It's not like it's maybe not a definitive definition of a Shindalad, but in context of Tanya, it's basically um native impulses to your nefesh Bahamis from the human impulses, um probably best to translate them as lustful impulses. Yeah, so it's I was having a discussion this week. In our language, I actually wrote it down 1 minute. In our language, I'll read you what I wrote on the woman's chats for living the life. Someone was talking about low. I was talking about being identified with. In fact, last week we were talking about Ruach Shtus, yeah? So Ruach Shtus is when you become identified with your emotions and you become unable to resist your emotions because you are your emotions. That's what it means to be identified with your emotions. So that's a very kind of like psychological way of speaking about it, or even a kind of a mystical, in truth, that's kind of a mystical way of talking about it, yeah? To become identified with your emotions. And I put up a video, and one of the women said, well, it says it's harder to fight with low dopamine levels than with I just don't feel like it. Meaning she came and asked me a question. You said what is it? It's about being identified with your emotions, and she said maybe it's about low dopamine levels. So I responded like this. I never thought about this, but now I am. Suppose talking about dopamine and other biochemical reactions is a more technical and physiological way of expressing much of what we talk about as identification, etc. This is the important part. In earlier generations, people explained human behavior in the language of angels and demons. Today, we explain it in the language of dopamine, ghrelin, cortisol, and neural reward circuits. The vocabulary changed, but that is about it. Do you get the idea?
Yeah.
Meaning, if you Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot, he's very happy with the fact that they used to the people from yesteryear used to talk about demons and angels being overtaken by a demon, and he would talk it, he would say it's to do with a certain, a hormone that was released from the pituitary gland that then, pushed the adrenaline and caused this reaction and that reaction. In the old days, they just called it demons, and it's not. There's not really much. There's no different. There's no difference. Just one we now see in a microscope, and one we just understood the effects. So that's what Shindodim basically are going to be. I suppose in the language of 2026, Tafshin Pevav, they would be chemical reactions in the body that cause irresistible tivers. But don't forget, that's just a expression of the spiritual whatever's going on. Yeah. So we've got two styles, Shindodim Yehudoim, Shindodim Nechuroim. This is a very, very important point. What is the tiver of a factory, a straight out the factory yid? before he's picked up anything from the world, yeah? What is it that a yid, a factory installed yid, yeah? What does he have tivers for?
Himself?
Well, yeah, but what does that? Yeah, that's the shorish of the whole thing. But what would that look like in this world? A textbook Jew, a Jew who's just come out of the laboratory with everything else being equal, will have tivers to overeat, to be with his wife too much against her will, to speak avak lashon hara maybe,
Sleep?
to oversleep, etc. Things that are permissible. The Yetzer Hara of the Jew, you could call the Shindana in this case the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara of the Jew, the natural Yetzer Hara of the Jew, is to indulge in things that are permissible. Why? Because the soul itself comes from Klipos Noiga, which is the realm of permissible, which is the realm of mutter. So it doesn't have any taiva that is forbidden, which would include things like mishkov zocher, yeah, or eating treif, or stealing, yeah. Those are not natural to a Jew. And if a Jew has those tivers, it's because he picked it up from the world. He picked it up from a place outside of him. And that means, and this is the important thing, that means that any tiver that a Jew has that is forbidden is by definition straightforward. It might not feel that way, but is by definition much more straightforward for the Jew to ascend. Because it's not natural to him. For a Jew to be Makadish himself in what's mutter, yeah, that is a real struggle. But for a Jew to not indulge in the forbidden, yeah, that shouldn't be a struggle. The only reason why it is a struggle is because we've been in Gullus for so long and we've picked up what the Rebbe calls the Teva Sheni. It means it's not your natural nature. And if you reverse engineer it, yeah, you see in Dubai these guys have these crazy cats. They've got tigers and cheetahs and all that kind of stuff, yeah, and lions. And you look at them and you think like, I wouldn't go near that thing. Yeah, you've seen the videos on YouTube with a friendly lion who just all of a sudden isn't friendly, you know? And it's like they say it over and over. Why? Because the fact that he was friendly is called a teva sheni. Lions are not friendly. The teva rishon, the teva of a lion, is to kill. The fact that you weaned it on bottles of milk and you jump around and squidge it and stuff, yeah, and now it like now it'll pick up your children in its mouth and walk them gently over to the bath and whatever, make them a cup of tea, yeah, that is called a teva sheni. And a teva sheni by definition is a teva sheni, meaning it can always vanish, and you're left with a Teva Rishon. So Mitzad the lion, be careful. Mitzad the Jew, that's Givoldic to know. That means if we are struggling with anything that is actually forbidden, like I speak to guys, one guy I know who has a big issue with Mishkov Zocher, yeah, Rachmanas. And by definition, even no matter how it appears in his mind, whatever it appears to be, by definition, it has to be assailable much more than being Makadish yourself in what's mutter to you by definition. So that's what's called Shindaladim Yehudoim. The Shindaladim of the Jew, the tithe of the Jew, is for things that are permissible, to indulge in the permissible. The Shindaladim of Nechuroim, of the Goyim, is to indulge in, could also be things that are permissible, but also things that are forbidden, not to a goy, but to a Jew, meaning he will have. I don't know if it means also to the things of the seven mitzvahs Noach. I don't know if it means that, but definitely things like chazir, that there's no problem for a goy to eat chazir, obviously, and they would have a tithe to eat that, whereas a Jew should not have a tithe to eat that. That's according to the Tanya, that I understand it. Okay. Onward. Shechina.
Shmuel, so okay, so what was the takeaway there? So we should just be aware because we come from Klipas Noga that we should just be more conscious in the things that were permissible to do and tame that down, and that anything that's not permissible is easily to get rid of. Is that
The,
what you
the,
just?
the, the takeaway is that you have a natural propensity to indulge selfishly in what is permissible. You have a natural natia propensity to indulge selfishly in what is permissible. That is natural to you. It is unnatural to you to have a taiva for something that is forbidden. That is unnatural. That's called a tevasheni. That's the takeaway. Which means by definition, to shed that behavior will be easier than being Makadish yourself in what's mutter to you. The real struggle of the Jew, see, this is the way Rav Manis frames it. Yeah, the struggle of the human being is between human and animal. The human being has to strive to be human. The struggle of Yisrael should be between human and Elokus. That is not the struggle of a human being. The struggle of Yisrael should be. I know that a lot of us have fallen, and we've been in Gullus for 2,000 years. But the way it was set up was meant to be that the human beings are struggling between Behema and Ben Adam, and the Yidden are struggling between Ben Adam and Elokus. That's how it's meant to be. So if you're struggling with something that is Behemadic and Asa, you should know that that is not you. That is some kind of thing that you've picked up from the gullus, and that should make it easier to shed. You got that? It's a very important idea. Very important idea. Yeah. Okay. Shechina Kadosha. Wow, we could talk about this for ages.
Let's do it.
Okay. It's got so many names, the Shechina. The best way of the most helpful synonym for Shechina, which is only used in Chabad really, but the most helpful synonym for Shechina is Mamalik Almin. It fills all the worlds. So you have this relationship called Kudsha Baruch Hu Shchinte, a Kodesh Baruch Hu and Shechina, which in the terminology of Kabbalah is the relationship between Zeh Ampin, which they call Za, and Nekeva, which they call Nuk. So in short, everything in Kabbalah is always shortened. Like if you listen in a shir Kabbalah, it's like you're talking about Zat and Ha and Za and 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 Radler, and everything is shortened. It's like endlessly shortened. So anyway, so we shorten Zeh Ampin to Za, Zion Aleph, and we shorten Nekeva to Nook. But then we further shorten them when we talk about them together to Zoin. Yeah, the Yichud of Zoin, which is Zion and Nun. So when it talks about the Yichud of Zoin, it's talking about the Yichud of Ze'ampin and Nekeva. Yeah, or Ze'ampin and Malchus. Yeah, which is the six Midas. Yeah, Chesed Gvul Tiferet Netzach Yesod and Malchus. That coming together of the lower seven spheres. Yeah, or Yesod. There's loads and loads and loads and loads of names for it, all different bechinas, and the names mean the same thing, but it's talking about them in different context generally. Um, so Shechina is the feminine aspect, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu is the masculine aspect. What does that mean? So Mamale Kwalman is, like I said, that's the best way of understanding this. Mamale Kwalman is the aspect of Hashem that, so to speak, I don't
Mm.
think you can call it a create. I don't think you can call it created, um, but it is it is the aspect of Hashem that is compatible with this world. there's the aspect of Hashem that isn't compatible with this world. And then there's Hashem himself, who you can't even say by Hashem himself that he's not compatible with the world because that implies some kind of relationship to the world. But Hashem in his Bechvoid V'atzmoi, you can't even say that he's not compatible with the world. You can't say he is compatible, he's not compatible. The word him and the word world don't fit. The word world doesn't exist when you're talking about him. Only when you're talking about Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is referring to Zah, and you're talking about Shechina, which is referring to Nuk, can you talk about him having either being compatible with Olam Hazeh, or well, not Olam Hazeh, like with the worlds, whatever, or not being compatible? So Shechina, which is implied also because we said Malek, I'm filling the worlds, but Shechina, the word Shechina also means to dwell and to be within. So that the Shechina is what gives you,
Wow.
the Shechina is what makes you you and makes me me and makes a stone and makes a tree. On the level of Sovev Kwam and on the level of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, everything is Shaveh. It just is. Like we said many times. To say you are is correct, yeah? Is that a correct statement? You are? Yeah? Yitzi is. Ben is. Ben is. Eli is. Shmuel is. That's a completely correct statement. Yeah? And you would say the exact same thing as a stone. The stone is. The tree is. The boat is. And every single one of those statements is absolutely correct. The stone is as absolutely correct as saying Yitzi is. Yeah? On that level, there is no differentiation between all of creation. There's just existence. The Shechina makes you you and a stone a stone. So Ben, you're not you're very different to a stone, yeah? You've got seichel, you've got emotions, you've got growth, etc., loads of other stuff. And a stone doesn't have those things, but it has the is. So the bit that you share in common with each other is that you are, but what you are, that's different. And that's what the Shechina being compatible with the world means. It's Mechaye the world. Za is Mahave the world. Za causes the world to exist. The Shechina causes the world to live. On the level of existence, we are all the same, whether you're a stone or a tree or a lion or a shmuel. Whatever you are, on the level of existence, you just are. There's no madrigas, that's it. But shmuel is shmuel, and Ari the lion is Ari the lion, and Toby the tree is Toby the tree, and Jimmy the rock is Jimmy the rock. Those differentiations are because of the Shechina, because of the aspect of the Ribbono Shel Olam, which is compatible with the worlds, so to speak. Because there's so much to talk about here. It goes so deep. But we're not let's not go too far. Um so so the Shechina is that element of the Ribbono Shel Olam that is compatible with the world, and it's the yichud of Kudsha Brechu Shchinte, which is the yichud of the whole system. Why? Because a Kodesh Baruch Hu is the lowest aspect on Elokus, and Shechina is the highest aspect in creation. So by the coming together of a Kodesh Baruch Hu and Shechina, there is a yichud of 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 all, because that's the point of connection. It's like if you got a massive boat, yeah, you got a massive boat, and all you need to do is wrap the rope around the thing on the port that sticks up, yeah. wrap the rope around it, and now you have the entire mass of land connected to the entire 50,000 ton ship, all through that one point of the rope. That's exactly how creation works. What is that yichud of Kudsha Brich Shchinte? What's another word for Zah? And there's loads of words. But go on, what's another word for Zah that would now help us understand what the yichud of Kudsha Brich Shchinte is? Which is the very first Rashi. The very first Rashi in Chumash tells you the whole thing. When I just said, oh, the whole way of being miyached, all of reality is with a yichud of Kudsha Brich Shchinte, yeah? What is that? Another word for Zah is called Torah. Another word for Yisrael, for Shechina, is Knesset Yisrael. So why did Hashem make the world? Rashi tells you. Bishvil Torah, Bishvil Yisrael. When Yisrael, which is we'll talk about this in a moment, is the manifestation of Shechina. Let's just say it's Shechina, yeah? That's not completely accurate, but Yisrael that is the Shechina, let's say. And the Torah, which is a Kodesh Baruch Hu, when Yidden do Torah and mitzvahs, that is that yichud, that is that 50 squillion ton ship being bound to the 10 to the power of 100 to the power of 100 ton earth. That point of connection, which is just that one rope and that piece of metal sticking out of the harbor, that is Yisrael and Torah. Yisrael is like the rope. Torah is like the metal thing sticking out of the harbor. And when Yisrael do Torah and mitzvahs, that connects the lowest part of Elokus to the highest part of creation, and that is a yichud of the entire system. You get that?
A lot to swallow.
A little bit more than just, yeah, mitzvahs are there to fix you. It's a little bit more cosmic. Imagine if we actually were mussing what that is. Like when you think about the noshel that I just gave now of the ship. You know how big these ships get, yeah? Like these billion-dollar cruise ships.
Right.
They're like they never end. All these, or even more, these oil tankers. These oil tankers can be a mile long, 1.5 kilometers. These oil tankers, they're just unfathomable. You just see it, and you're like, I remember seeing a train in India one time that must have been about, a kilometer, literally. And it was just amazing. But a boat, and all it gets to, I mean, it's a thick rope, don't get me wrong. But when you compare the rope to the boat, I mean, what's the comparison? There's no comparison. It might be a rope that thick, but Lamaisa next to this 50,000 ton boat, it's like a hair. And then the metal thing that sticks out of the harbor, yeah, will compare that to the entire planet Earth. Again, it's a speck. But all you need is those 2 points to get connected, and that entire tremendous ship is now bound to the entire tremendous earth. And that is what happens when we do mitzvahs. That's an amazing thing to think about.
Well,
That's an amazing thing to think about. You are, and that's called devakus. That's called being devek. You've become sticky tape. You're holding together all of reality, not just all of creation. It's the goyim are there to hold together creation. The goyim are responsible for Yishuv Aretz. It's their responsibility to make sure this world is geschmack. It's the Jews' responsibility to make sure this world is stuck to God. That's called being an kadosh. That's what it means to be a mamleches kohanim. Is we are the ones that stick creation, which is primarily in the hands of the goyim, to creator. We are the link We are the highest point, and that's called the Shekhinah. Yeah, so Am Yisrael, the Nishmas Yisrael, the source of Nishmas Yisrael is called Shekhinah. So you can't say that your soul is Shekhinah. That's not a correct statement. The way I understand it is you would say that the best moshel, the best moshel that the Arizal gave us was the Hakal Tapuchin. Yeah, the apple field. I've said this to you before, no? For sure. Yeah.
Oh, first.
It's an amazing moshel. The Hakal Tapuchin, the apple orchard, is the Shekhinah. And the individual tepuchin, yeah, the individual apples, those are the neshamas. Those are you don't really call them Yiddish and neshamas. Then a neshama's a neshama. When a neshama enters a goof, that being is now called a yid. A Jew is a human being with a neshama. So you can't say that neshamas are Jewish. Neshamas make human beings Jewish. The neshama is you could it's Yisrael. It's an expression of Knesset Yisrael. And that's what a neshama is. Um, but the so it's an amazing moshel because for the apple orchard, it's not like it's not like a pizza. Yeah, where you have a pizza pie and you take slices of the pizza out and you got 8 slices and now you got no pie left, yeah? So you might think, well, that's the Shechina and Am Yisrael, is that, each Yisrael is called a Chelek Elokai Mimal, so that means there's 600,000 parts to the Shechina and we're all down here, so the Shechina is not there anymore. That's not what it means at all. It's not like that. It means that the individual neshamas are they come out of the Shechina Kadosha, and they're still connected as well. They're still connected with like a hevel, it says, like with a rope. They're still connected. But so the Shechina is the source of all Nishmas Yisrael, and that's why the Shechina is also called Rochel. Yeah, Mama Rochel. That's why she's called Mama Rochel because Rochel Imenu, because she's the fount of Jewish souls. She's the fount of Jewish souls. So the Shechina is that aspect of the Rabboni Shalom that is compatible with this world, and that on a practical level looks like Am Yisrael. And Am Yisrael is the way I understand it is the way the world looks is a reflection of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is like the in the old cinemas they used to have the real the what do you call it, the positive, not positive,
Projectors.
yeah, but what's the real, it's not called negatives, what's the real that was called what it would run, the big reel, yeah, in the projectors they would have the two reels and it would run through, and yeah, Am Yisrael is like that, the positive, the film of it, yeah. And the world is the projection on the big screen. So we spoke about two apparently different things. We spoke about Am Yisrael, and then we spoke about that element of Hashem that's compatible with the world. But it's not a stereo, that's the same inyan. And every Yid, it says it clearly in the Tanya, there's 600,000 Shoresh neshamas, yeah? And there's many more Jews, so obviously that fragments out in some kind of unknown mystical way. But there's 600,000 fragments of chalakim, so to speak, to the Shechina, let's say. Yeah, you're not allowed to say that, but whatever. There's 600, no, so there's 600 Shoresh neshamas, yeah? 600,000. How many parts is the world divided up into? The world is divided up into 600,000 parts. Now, I'm just going to do a quick thing. I'm just going to talk to the chat GPT for 1 minute. Get me a exact area of all the land mass in the world and an accurate number of how many people live in the world. One moment. And we're going to now make a cheshbon, and this will be really funny. One moment. So there's 600,000 Jewish souls, yeah? But you're not a whole soul. So we're just going to do a fun. It's going to be fun, yeah. But it will make it fun. How many Jews are there in the world?
15 million.
15 million.
15 million. Okay. So if you want to do the math with me, you can. I'm not a good mathematician, but let's try. So we've got 15 million Jews and 600,000 primal neshamas. Yeah. So that means every neshama is divided, so 15 million, yeah, divided by 600,000 equals 25. So each Jew is a 25th of 600,000, is that right? If there's no. If there's 600,000 Jews, if there's 600,000 neshamas, and there's 15 million Jews, well, how much of a neshama are you?
Uh,
Oh, it'd be 600,000 divided by 15 million, no?
Well, if 25 people are sharing one neshama,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So it
20.
doesn't. So that means I have a 25th inside of me. I'm one
Yeah,
of.
so that way, so one set times 25 is 15 million. Yeah, so 25 people are sharing one neshama. Yeah, again, this is funny, but let's do this because you'll laugh at the end of this, yeah, but it'll be quite amazing. So 25, so every Jew is 1/25th of a neshama, yeah? What's the fraction of 1/25th? What's the fraction of a 1 over 25? Don't give me all the working out, just tell me the number. Um,
0.04.
0.4, that's what I got, yeah, 0.04. Okay, so now we have got the land mass of the world is about 57.5 million square miles. Let's do it in kilometers. It's 150 million kilometers, yeah? 150 150 million kilometers, yeah? Square kilometers.
I can't wait for the punchline.
150 million square kilometers, yeah? Hold with me, it's worth it, it's worth it, it's worth it. Okay, 150 million square kilometers. Now, divide that by 600,000, and that means there's 250 square kilometers per Jewish neshama. Yeah? 250 square kilometers. That's a big area, yeah? But now divide that by 0.04. Oh no, so you have to times that by 0.04. 250 times 0.04, 10 kilometers. So that means that every Jew is responsible for a 10-kilometer area of the world. The world divides into 600,000 parts, yeah? Which corresponds to the 600,000 root neshamas. So that means you have connected to your neshama because you're only a 1/25th of a neshama. Again, we're just making this up, yeah, like we're doing the funny math. You have connected to 10 square kilometers. Think about how much that's worth, by the way. If that is in like downtown New York, owning 10 square kilometers in downtown New York, think about how much that's worth, yeah? Someone run it? Can someone just ask the chat what that would, how much that would, the prime real estate in New York, how much that would cost? Now, let's go first. So we've got 8.3 billion. So let's just say 8 billion people in the world, yeah? This is the really fun bit. So 8 billion people in the world, yeah? So we times 8. Oh, good. My calculator just gets to 8 billion. That's great. Oh no, is that eight? I did 800 billion, sorry. 8 billion. Divide that by 600,000. So this is the really crazy bit, yeah? Every Jewish neshama is responsible for 13,333 human neshamas, but you're only a 1/25th. So now divide that or times that number by 0.04, 533. Now, according to our estimations, Yiti, did you get that number of prime real estate in New York? I'll just ask the chat 1 minute. Just as a rough estimate, how much do you think 10 square kilometers of prime real estate in New York would be worth?
It's before or after the last election.
Okay. Oh, it gives you the whole thing. Just give me a number, man. It gives you three scenarios. So we take the middle one. $270 billion. Psh. Yeah, but then how much is 1 minute and how much is 10 kilometers of low-level land in Texas worth? Oh, still $25 million. Okay, so we've done the cheshbon. It comes out like this, yeah? Every Jewish neshama is responsible for 10 square kilometers of land mass in this world. Yeah, that is directly connected to your neshama. 533 human beings are connected to your neshama. Directly connected to your neshama. That means that you're like that when we're talking about the film, the projector going through the transparency onto the big screen. Yeah, you're the transparency, and 10 square kilometers and 533 nefashos, assuming that you're a 1/25th you're just a regular chalik. You understand? That's how the world works. Yisrael is the point is the highest point in creation, and from the highest point of creation, all of creation forms. So we just made a funny cheshbon, but that just gives you an idea. Imagine if you realized that your avoider, there's more than 500 human beings in the world, that their entire world is dependent on your avoider, is dependent on your relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam. That's a really funny thing to think about. So yeah, so we'll finish here, but that's the Shechina, okay? The Shechina is the aspect of the Ribono Shel Olam that is of creation, so to speak, and that really translates as Am Yisrael, or the Nishmas Yisrael, Knesset Yisrael, which translates as Am Yisrael, which then goes out and becomes all of reality as we know it. That's the way I understand how it works. The Shekhinah is also called the Alma Discalia, the revealed world. It's also called Matronisa, which means the queen. Imatata, the lower level of mother, and also Knesset Yisrael. Okay, yeah, and there's a lot more to talk about as well, but we'll leave it there. We'll call it a day
Okay.
now, and next week we'll catch up on Seichel, and then probably a week after that we'll finish B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, square.
Appreciate the heavy lifting.
The what?
The heavy lifting. I
That was
don't know. I think about this calculation, but it's fascinating.